Well, hey, Cafe Crew. Hope you're doing well. So glad to be communicating to you. My name is Eric Clark, one of the guys here on staff. I'm working along with Craig and Teresa and Sandy Moore as we transition kind of guest services, oversight, and leadership from Craig, primarily Teresa doing the admin scheduling to myself and to Sandy more. We know some of you, we don't know all of you. Love to get to know you going forward, but just wanted to take a minute to record a video to communicate some things. What we as a guest services team are trying to do in the months ahead, or each month really, is to take a week and devote it to one of the four teams in guest services. And so last week it was greeters. They got a video like this. This week it's cafe. And so we wanted to really just communicate our heart and thank you, but then also give you guys some insight to some of the changes and the reasoning behind it, the big why behind what we're doing, and hopefully create an atmosphere where you guys are up to date, you guys are informed, that you guys have the ability even to respond with some concerns or questions, to where there's a great dialogue for us. And instead of just sending an email that's gigantic, we want to use a video to try to keep it, about 12, 15 minutes long in preparation for this Sunday. And so, really for us, the reasoning behind this transition, and I'll get to here in a second, is very intentional. And so, uh, you know, I'm just grateful for you guys. We as a team, Sandy and Teresa and Craig, we're just super grateful for you as the cafe team and your faithful, consistent service week in and week out. And it's been a month really. Almost, it's been actually over a month since we switched service times. There's great energy, great momentum. A lot of people here in the mornings, and in light of that, guest services is incredibly important. I actually, in the email that you got that has this link, I also linked to another video from a mentorish figure in my life. His name's Jeff Vanderstelt, and he talks about how biblical hospitality really comes, the word hospitality in the New Testament comes from two words put together. It means love for the stranger. And so for us, we just want to say thank you for all the extra care and attention that you're paying those people who oftentimes are strangers. It's a big place, and we don't know if they're a first-time visitor or a long-time visitor. But man, we have heard and witnessed things about how you guys are serving and all the warm welcome, and how you guys are just loving people through the giving of food and of drink. And so, thank you so much. Uh, I hate that sometimes that can be lost in cliche, but we can't do this without you guys. You guys are part of this faith family and serving people. And so we ultimately, I think, want to create a culture that cultivates connection and community. And you guys are help enriching that through a little food and great coffee. And so thank you. Got a couple things we just want to work into and kind of update you guys on some of the changes, some of the things that are going on. And so the first thing is this transition from Craig and Teresa to Sandy and myself. And so just to give you guys a little bit of kind of just maybe context on this move, really Craig is for a while now, several years, have been leading guest services and co-leading worship tech arts, and he's been playing almost every weekend. The last year he's been highly involved in the Odessa uh, church plant, or the campus. And so um, uh, as we got to talking and thinking about the trajectory of guest services, one of the things as staff is that we realize as guest services, in a lot of ways, it's kind of like the foster kid ministry. It gets bounced around, and we wanted to find a home. And so the ministries that I oversaw, our next steps, our membership process, along with how to get plugged in, how to get plugged into a group here, servant leader orientation, equipping servant leaders before they serve into a ministry area. And so it just made sense to bring guest services underneath that, so that we help people go from the parking space all the way through getting connected to servant leadership or member partnership or a group here. And so that's part of the transition. And with Teresa focusing more on what she was doing with production, worship, tech arts, and then Sandy really focusing on guest services because she works hand in hand with the facilities team as well. And so for us, it was a natural transition. But what we wanted to do is we didn't want to just abruptly shift oversight. We wanted to have a slow and very intentional change in that. And so as we did that, it's going to be slow. It's going to be intentional because specifically for me and Sandy, we want to learn not only from Craig and Teresa, but from you, really the history of each area and guest services, really the scope of what you guys do, and then how we as staff can help and empower you guys. And so ultimately that's our heart. And that's why we're doing this transition kind of slow in an intentional way. So if you have any questions, stop us in the foyer, send us an email, give us a call. We'd love to, if you have any concerns, questions, or that weren't addressed. Now, a couple things specific to the cafe on Sunday. So what we've seen since August 2nd in the service time change is that really from about 11:20 to noon is really our busiest time in the cafe. And oddly enough, honestly, that's the biggest hole that we have with servant leaders. Over the last several weeks, we've had to scramble to staff that. Even some staff had to come in, some greeters we had to recruit from the 10:30 greeting team to come help. And so if there's any way you as a greeter can maybe come and serve from 11 to noon and go to the noon service, that would be incredibly helpful for us. If that's not if that's not possible for you, then don't feel any manipulation or kind of force in that. We just want to put that need out before you. We have some new servant leaders coming in that are going to start in that area, but we need, because that is the most that's the busiest time, is that we want to put a lot of people there. And here's why we know that. I mean, case in point, last week we went through 27 dozen donuts between 11:30 and 11:15. That 20-minute span, we went through 27 donuts, and 9 of those 27 we cut in half. And that's out of really 70 dozen that we bought that week. We've seen we started with 50 dozen August 2nd, and now this week, because of the demand and everything, we will have 85 dozen this week. And so you see the scope of it, you see the busyness of that. So if you can maybe shift when you serve, if that's possible, we'd greatly appreciate it. If you can't, don't worry. We just want to put that before you. As far as kind of when we're going to close the cafe, we've been looking at the noon service, and so really we want to shoot for about 12:10 to close that. But then we just want to use good judgment. If there's people there at, if there's no people there at 12:05, we can close it up. If there's a lot of people there, we just don't want to just close it to close it. We want to serve people, because ultimately the bigger why behind all of this is giving somebody a taste of home, a little cup of coffee, maybe a little bit, maybe disarms them from their morning, or maybe they haven't been to church in a while. I mean, we had just recently a gentleman bring his daughter, and he had never been to church before for the first time. I can't imagine what it would be like to walk into a place like this. And so we just want to serve the stranger. We want to welcome them. We want to love them well in the extension of that. And so we just want to use our best judgment and great judgment when we close that at the noon. But just wanted to let you guys know that as well. One of the bigger changes too that we have done recently is with Planning Center. And so Planning Center is the tool that we use as a staff to help coordinate over 150 of you servant leaders. And from our perspective, I hope you can kind of see it from our perspective, is we're trying to help coordinate and support and lead and provide for 4 big teams over the course of really 3 service hours, and then 4 auditoriums if you count Stonegate North. Something to help, a tool like Planning Center can really help us coordinate that accept or that deny. We really would really benefit. We'd be really honored as a staff if you guys would consistently, reply to those Planning Center invites. And one of the changes that we did recently is, instead of getting from you which weeks you guys are available, we scheduled every single person every single week, And then what you can do is you can go into Planning Center and you can go into the calendar and block off certain dates. And if you go in and block off certain dates, what will happen is you won't get an assignment request or a scheduling request for the days that you block off. And so if you have any issues with that or don't know how to do that, man, give us a call, send Sandy an email. We'll help train you up in that as well. And so really Planning Center is a huge tool for us, and we just really would ask that you would be consistent and faithful to respond to those scheduling requests. It helps us get a clear picture of the morning so that if we need to make adjustments, we can make adjustments, because we understand that things come up and some weekends won't work. And so thank you in preparation for you helping us and doing that for us. Okay, so really the last thing, here's what I want to do with really a couple minutes that I have with you left, is that in these videos that we're going to do going forward, as we kind of update you once a week per team, is that we want to also focus on a monthly theme or around what we're going to start rolling out, what you're going to start hearing going forward, is what we're going to call our guest services plumb lines. And really these things are nothing that I created, but a mentor of mine uses in his ministry. Really they're pithy quotes to help us remember why we do what we do. And so the first one this month, a theme for this month, the first plumb line is this, is that the gospel, or Jesus's life, death, and resurrection, the message of the gospel. So the gospel is offensive, so nothing else should be. And so for us, as we welcome people on campus, they're going to be sitting in a message that is offensive, especially in our day and time. The fact that you are a broken sinner by nature, that you need a supernatural rescue through the grace of Jesus Christ to get you back into right relationship with him for life, for joy, for meaning. Ultimately, in our days, an offensive message. And so if that's offensive, what we want to do is we want to literally remove any hurdle or offense through diligent work, through us in our teamwork, to remove any of that hurdle or offense that might give somebody reason or justification to bail on Jesus. Because ultimately our hope is that the gospel is the power of God unto salvation for all who believe. And so if that is our hope, that there's some things that are out of our control, right? The changing of a human heart is way out of our control. But the things that we can do, the things that we can make the person's experience as they come on our campus just full of welcome and life and welcome and love and extension of grace. If we can remove any of those hurdles, then we're going to just trust the Lord to take an offensive message and do the powerful work in a person's heart. And so we know that some of you already do this, and so, as we gather and as we pray as teams, we just pray that God would empower us to be people of supernatural love and supernatural welcome and supernatural biblical hospitality, of welcoming those into our midst. And so really that's our hope, because you guys are one of the first faces of that people see when they come on our campus, whether they're brand new or they've been here a long time. And so thank you so much to help us remove anything that's offensive because of the offensive nature of the gospel. We don't want anything else to be. And so hopefully that makes sense. These are some plumb lines that we're going to reinforce on a month-to-month basis. And so we just want to say, as a team, from Craig and Teresa, Sandy and I, specifically as the cafe, we just want to say thank you for being so faithful and consistent. You guys just bring an unbelievable level of service every week. You bring a touch of home to every person who walks and grabs food or coffee, as we together as a team hope and pray that God transforms them while they're among us. And so, thank you guys so much. Can't wait to see you this Sunday. I've attached two things in the Planning Center email. One's that 30-minute talk on hospitality. I think would be worth your time when you get a chance. No pressure on that. And then there's also an article, an article about how important the first 10 to 11 minutes are for a person when they come on our campus. Hopefully they can be great resources for you as you pursue Jesus and Christian maturity. So thank you guys so much. Look forward to seeing you Sunday. Have a great 2 days before.